we have to campaign to Nigerians, and that is what is primary. And that primary responsibility of campaigning to Nigerians over his manifesto for Nigerians is very paramount, and that should not be an unnecessary or untoward distraction. That is the situation.
About the importance of these people. Now, we're not in any way, or I'm not in any way saying that these people are bigger than the party. Just as you said, the most important thing to you is to campaign to Nigerians. But you need these governors in these areas because these are strongholds of the PDP. I'm talking about a Governor Makinde. I'm talking about a Governor Wike, for instance, a Governor Ortam, and the rest of them. You do need these people to be able to, one way or the other, strengthen the party in those areas. I'm trying to understand how you mean when you say, well, what is most important is to campaign to Nigerians. Yes, but how do you separate that from the party politics in those areas where the PDP does have a stronghold?
Yeah, I did not say that we are forgetting them. No, that is not my position. That is not my assertion. My assertion is, while this need to placate these seemingly, disgruntled members is going on, is ongoing, it's an ongoing process. The election is still roughly about 3.5 months away. While that is going on, we cannot forgo our primary, I use the word primary. So the others may be a little less important, but it is more important to speak to Nigerians. And if you notice the trajectory of the campaign, or of my principal ever since he joined the race, he is being a stickler for propriety, for the timetable, for the exactitude, so that we do not fall short on both sides. It is important, yes, that we make sure everybody is on board. I am not one of those who will go into the public domain and begin to castigate other members of the party, irrespective of the differences, because in every family, it is not restricted to the PDP. It is also there in the APC. It's also there in the Labour Party and other. But it is the management therefrom. And I keep trying to, in my own limited capacity, to tell our aggrieved governors that sometimes they must look at the larger picture. And what is the larger picture? The larger picture is the return of the PDP to the pinnacle of power in Nigeria come May 29th. 2023. Once you have that, it's like managing by objective. Once you understand that that is the overriding objective, it is important sometimes to bury the cudgel. It is important sometimes to bury the hatchet and begin to push the larger agenda, and that is to make sure Nigerians via the PDP are able to remove the sitting government that has taken Nigerians to this journey to Neverland. And that is important. Anybody within or outside of the party who does not see that is an indirect connoisseur, is an indirect better of the death of Nigerians. And that is the truth. So I personally do not think that Mr. Samuel Otom or Barrister Yeson Wike and other persons who are towing their line, I do not think that it is lost on them that Nigerians need to be rescued. And the only party that has the overriding spread, that has the goodwill, that has the manifesto to deliver Nigerians is the PDP. And the person who is our flag bearer is Atiku Abubakar. That is a truism. It's not a manufactured fact. Now, on their own, we know all the problems, or it has become common knowledge, it has been flogging the public domain for upwards of 4 or 5 months now. I think that any right-thinking leader who is not swallowed or buried in his own selfish, inundated ambitions, whatever those may be, will see the larger goal, will see the larger objective, and begin to join forces with all the elements within the party who are bent on seeing the rescuing of Nigeria come 2023. That is my position.
Okay. Still talking about the G5 governors here, including Governor Ortom, Governor Wike. There seems to be a seeming same statement coming from them. When Governor Wike was inaugurating the governorship campaign in his state, he did say that he would ensure that every single office holder, or rather anybody who's running for any office on the platform of the PDP, would win. But then when it came to the presidency aspects, they kept mum. Same thing goes for Governor Ortom while he was speaking in Benue State. He did say that all of those offices word, be filled by the PDP, but he never spoke about the Atiku presidential bid. And although we've seen a video with Governor Bala Mohammed, with your presidential candidate, which seems like all is fine and dandy in that area. But I'm curious. Recently, a deputy governor of Oyo State, a deputy to Governor Seyi Makinde, was at an event, and this event was at the behest of the APC, and he did give a message saying that they support the Yoruba position on the APC's flag bearer. Now that of course would raise eyebrows for so many people who are watching the G5 governors. What's the position of the People's Democratic Party, and does this in any way raise eyebrows in your corner, or just like your principal said, is it something that he doesn't worry about?
You see, we do not want to reduce the election to an ethnic level. We do not intend to reduce this election to an election between ethnic jingoists. So if a person in the position of the deputy governor of Oyo State has decided within, I don't know why he decided to do that, but if he has decided to come up with such a position, it is important to quickly note that that position is not a position of the party. Now, if you decide to, as the sitting PDP governor of a state, reduce the entire 2023 race to our local, it is our turn. So this is a Yoruba. What happens to me who is Edo? What happens to the others who are non-Yorubas? So we are not going to join issues with what the deputy governor of Oyo State had just done. I think that was a monumental, huge strategic error on his part. But I don't want to pass judgment on anybody. I don't even want to pass judgment on any vituperations coming from supposed leaders of the party. When you are now, at a time the party most needs you, you are now involved in what is openly anti-party. Things that for previous times would have, in normal times, would have led to expulsions or suspensions. So, but you see, the Atiku campaign, and particularly His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, the Waziri Adamawa, he has made it clear that as a man of peace, he will not join issues with them in the public domain. That will be reducing his stature. We are not looking for who will be involved in a mudsling or in mud fights. We will not join in that rofo. That is the truth. And we will keep our campaign as elevated as humanly permissible. We will push the 5-point developmental agenda of Atiku Abubakar as humanly permissible. And we will try as much as possible from the north to the south, from the east to the west, across all the 6 geopolitical zones in this country, to tell our story to each and every person. We will try as much as possible to hug every face in every place, and we shall knock on every door, on every floor. And that is what we also want to tell our detractors, either those detractors are within or outside of the party, that we are focused, and that focused is we are managing this campaign strictly by the objective of the campaign, and that is on the 29th of May 2023 to get the presidential candidate of the PDP sworn in as the bona fide president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Every other thing is a Mephistophelian distraction, and we cannot run away from that. So we understand that the best way is to go on, tell our story, repeat our story, and without repeat motive. Maybe these persons who are not running, they are not running for election. They are not campaigning for election. They are not on the ballot. Neither, apart from Seyi Makinde, none of them is running for an election. And we think that we have seen this old playbook play out, and we are better prepared than we were in 2015 to take this head on. Let's call a spade a spade. And at this point, Nigerians, we owe it as a cardinal duty to Nigerians to provide the vehicle for them to change the sitting APC government.
All right, let's still talking about internal crisis within your party. Former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, had recently warned of what he called a serious turbulence within the PDP. I'd like to quote him directly. He warned that things might get messier within the next few days and weeks if the crisis in the PDP is not resolved. He also said in a tweet that an impending turbulence might be more serious than ever. He wrote, "I see more serious problem in the PDP than before. I have been silent all this while, hoping that things will get better. I advise that we do more than we're doing now to resolve this crisis, as events in the days and weeks ahead may get messier. I pray this advice is not ignored." I'd like to get your take on this.
I joined in his prayer. I actually just quickly scribbled if. If is conditional, and I truly believe that all avenues are being explored to make sure that this seeming doomsday prediction of Peter Ayo Fayose does not come to pass. I personally believe that anybody, however, who wants peace must also be prepared for war. It is normal. So for all the plans, there is a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, even a plan D. What if? The many ifs are many. The ifs are humongous. But I truly believe that the presidential candidate of the PDP, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, is committed. Hence, all the entities have been made to these persons. Is a pity as the days go ahead and their inability to continually put their arguments succinctly before the public in the face of the law, in the face of our constitution, which they sponsored. It has become a catch-22. Damn if you do, damned if you don't. So it is important that we understand that there is a lacuna in which bracket we've been caught, and the person or persons who seem to have engineered this to this dynamo are the men who are screaming. We believe, truly believe, according to what I said, I pray. I also pray, we are praying that we do not get messier, because whatever they are saying or doing cannot be worse than what they've said or done so far. But this has not in any way made the candidates, the Atiku Abubakar and Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, to be perturbed and distracted. We feel that all this, I use the word unguided vituperations, I don't want to use stronger words, are means to distract and detract the campaign, to meet some persons' selective goals, and those things will not fly in the face of the PDP in this campaign. That is a matter of fact.
Let's talk campaign strategy, because of course, in my opening, I did mention that your candidate is facing, his manifesto and trying to play it out. What are the strategies that he's going to? What does Atiku plan to do? How does he plan to win the hearts of the average Nigerian? Being that many people would put the PDP and the APC on the same pedestal, because you see, they say they're one and the same. Being that the people in these two political parties have at one point or the other been members of either of the parties. How does the PDP's presidential candidate hope to make sure that he can win the hearts of the average Nigerian as we get ready for this election? And what are some of the strategies included in his manifesto that he would use or employ as he goes on?
Number one, you see, I just want to debunk the seeming narrative that APC and PDP are one and the same. They are not. These are two parties on the opposite ends of the spectrum. The ideological divides are as wide as the ocean.
What are the ideological divides? Because the last time I checked, Nigeria is not an ideological based. We do not have ideologies in our political parties. So what ideologies separate the PDP from the APC, and why do they keep going back and forth?
You are talking about peoples. You are not talking about the structure. You are referring to peoples. I'm not referring to peoples. I'm referring to the manifestos of the party. Number one, you see, let me even put that aside quickly. In 2003 to 2007, Mr. Peter Obi was an APGA member. In the very last round of election, Mr. Peter Obi was on the PDP ticket. And as of today, Mr. Peter Obi is in the Labour Party. So the three of them, he has been across three political parties in the last 6 years. Dr. Rabiu Kwankwanso became a minister in the PDP government. He was a two-time senator in the PDP, and he was the two-time governor of Kano State within the PDP. So anyone who is beginning not to see that the product differentiation is clear, the person is a little economical with the truth. The sitting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria first ran for office as an ANPP candidate. By the time he was running again in 2011, he ran as a CPC candidate. And by the time he ran in 2015 and 2019, he was an APC candidate. So the fact that there has been accommodation, movement, motion by persons between all these parties do not make the parties not to be different. If you use the personalities and their supposed movement you are indirectly saying that Mr. Peter Obi, Mr. Rabiu Kwankwanso, who were bona fide members and ran elections, won elections on the platform of the PDP, are just on the same boat as His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. I am not saying this to make anybody feel good or bad. That is a statement of fact. The PDP presidential vice presidential candidate for 2019 was Peter Obi. So that is on the one hand. Now, when I'm talking about the differences within these parties, their track records are there for us to see. Today, for example, not to just mince words and begin to come up with facts that don't exist. If we are clear with ourselves, we know what the PDP did before they left power. As at 2015, we knew where Nigeria was as at that time. So what we have is not a mudslinging, blame them for 8 more years as the APC has done. We have a publicly declared, publicly presented for the last since March, my covenant with Nigerians, the ATIKU'S Manifesto, which is the manifesto of the PDP encapsulated in a 5-point agenda that takes us from our problems with our unity, our problems with our security, our problems with the lack of infrastructure and the need to grow the economy and take Nigerians from poverty. Our two most cardinal problems today is a paucity in the pay pocket, because the economy is run by people who seem not to understand economics, and the security problem of this country, which is exacerbated by our agenda number 5, a very crazy lack of education, because you cannot move the people forward if you don't raise their brain power upward, and then the faulty, seemingly intractable nature of our federal system, which has created a huge behemoth at the center that needs to be restructured for a proper devolution of power. So we have on a scale a simple matrix that will attract the upwardly mobile middle class, that will attract those who are involved in the economics of this country, that is geared towards a proper provision of power. When I say power, I mean of electricity, which is the backbone for any industrial output, and then to make sure that we arrest the debilitating security situation in the country, because we have seen it that the present government has absolutely lost the plot. So what we have are based on a tripod: short-term, medium-term, and a long-term fixing up to the year 2030. I was happy if you have heard our vice presidential candidate, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, speaking of late. You will find that the PDP has a proper, well-structured manifesto that addresses the immediate and long-term needs of the Nigerian peoples, irrespective of their tribe and clan, and at the same time willing to pull up the poverty level, pull up the poor man in Nigeria in a realistic matrix of providing 3 million jobs is very doable in Nigeria, and raising our GDP at least to a benchmark of about $5,000 per annum, which is doable. And for us to continue to lacerate and be held back by persons who are not on any ballot at any level, by persons who seem to be bent on truncating the upward mobility of the Nigerian people via the PDP, they are indirectly trying to insist on entrenching this very government. A government which in the last few months, in their own mouths, I remember Mr. Wike speaking some months ago, that for Tinubu to have come to say he wants to continue the works of the present government is a slap on the Nigerian peoples, because we know that today a bag of rice is 51,000 naira. We know that the economy on a macro scale has gone from a proper economy to a basket case. We know that today, just within the pressure of just 2 weeks, the Nigerian naira has almost turned out to become toilet paper. So we cannot, because of the inordinate ambitions and anger of a select few, keep the whole Nigerian nation on a leash.
All right, that is where the PDP has come to do. All right, before we go to something else, I want to go take you back to the issue of ideologies. I like to clear out stuff. So I talked about the APC and the PDP. You brought the NNPP and the Labour Party. So let's go back there again. Now, the assertion that you made, or the examples that you gave, were people who ran for Peter Obi. He ran, of course. We know his antecedents. We know the antecedents of Rabiu Kwankwanso. But the Nigerians have not necessarily experienced these guys, neither the NNPP or the Labour Party, as their president and as a leadership across the country, Nigerians have experienced the PDP and the APC, and they've seen both sides of the coin. So my question again is, how do you intend to get these same Nigerians who've lost hope and faith in the PDP and the APC to vote for you, telling us the same stories that you've told us for the past few years? And here we are again, you going head to head with the APC. So I'm asking, how do you intend to? Because again, like I said, we haven't experienced the NNPP as a leadership across the country. Neither have we experienced the Labour Party as a leadership across the country. Why should Nigerians not give those people a chance as opposed to you guys?
Okay, in 2015, Nigerians have not experienced the APC. But Nigerians had experienced the PDP. And as at that time in 2015, I'm sure all of us are adults, and we are not a race with short memories. As at that time, if we look back either in anger or by the benefit of hindsight, what we are saying was that we demonized, unquote, a seeming, to use the word that was banded rapidly then by the APC, a clueless Jonathan-led PDP. That was what was banded. And it sold. Because there is a saying in Benin, I will explain, now new thing I they catch body. But it doesn't necessarily mean that a new thing now better pass. It doesn't. So what we are saying is this, that Nigerians should sit back, press pause. Let's not go through the same trajectory, the same path, the same beaten path, the same narrow path that we went through in 2015, which was based on the fact that these guys are new. But unfortunately, we saw what the newness has led us. It has taken the Nigerian economy that had almost wiped off East Paris and London debts by increasing almost 10 times what was borrowed by the PDP in 16 years was done in 7 years of the APC. We have seen that the poverty index has increased by close to 700%. We have seen that all the promises, not all that seem to glitter, is gold. That is what we are saying. We are saying that these people have been tried, tested, and this was where they left Nigeria. And as at the time, just only 5 months before the PDP were removed from office, the World Bank and the IMF recalibrated our GDP as the foremost economy, as the largest economy, and the best performing economy in Africa. But as at that time, investments in terms of FDIs were streaming in by the gloves. But unfortunately for us, because of that monumental anger of comfort, we threw the PDP out. We are saying, relax, wake up, and smell the coffee again. But this time, experience should be our best teacher, not the other way around. Because we will be doing this now via reverse osmosis. We have done this, and for 8 years, we have rolled back 25 years. In 8 years, the Nigerian economy has gone back to the doldrums. In 8 years, we have turned the nation into an unspoken militocracy. In 8 years, we have seen them move from us to be a nation that was seemingly safe to become the kidnapping capital of the world. We are in a mess. And the only way to do this is not to bring in greenhorns, but let us bring people. Let me explain. Let's say this.
The champions of the Nigerian
I was really hoping that you're going to land because we're out of time. So finally, yes.
Yes, finally, yes. The champions of the Nigerian state that took the Nigerian state to the map were all the champions brought to the Nigerian state by the PDP. Be it Okonjo-Iweala, be it an Adesina, be it whoever who are still shining examples today. I have shown the PDP has the propensity and capacity and capability to take Nigeria back to the top and not leave it at the doldrums where the APC has put us so far. And the only man who can do that, who has the cross-border, cross-handshake across the 6 geopolitical zones, is Atiku Abubakar and his vice presidential candidate, Dr. Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa.
All right. Well, Don Pedro Obaseki is a presidential media consultant to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So good to have you on the program. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for having me.
All right.